Astrotrain has always been weird to me. Not like the character was weird, but the design. He turns into a train, which is big, and he turns into a space shuttle, one big enough to carry Devastator, which is massive. Now I know scale in the G1 cartoon is almost non-existent because the cartoon has so many animation errors, but I always saw Blitzwing as this big booming Decepticon because he turns into really large alt modes. And Cyberverse was the show that really showed that. Cyberverse is one of those shows that gets a lot of hate from people who I think have mostly only seen season 1, which admittedly isn't great, but the rest of the show is really enjoyable. It is for kids, but at the end it's got a higher kill count of named characters than Prime, which I found very interesting. So that brings me to this Astrotrain. DX9 Chigurh was a figure I wanted since day one, and I'm kind of glad I got it now, as I feel it fits very well in a War for Cybertron display for me. I mean, it was originally meant for MP. That's what that was designed for, but I find it's way too greebly and detailed for the simple sculpts of normal MP and modern MP, but that's what the Chug aesthetic is now. It's going for that sort of look and feel, so I think it fits quite well with your Siege Megatron and Siege Soundwave. I think it looks really good with those. The robot has some interesting proportions, that's for sure. The really skinny thighs and the really beefy arms are a little bit strange, and they took a while for me to get used to, but I have gotten used to them by now. I do still wish the thighs were a little bit beefier, and there is some room within the transformation for them to be a little beefier or to collapse or something, but they just didn't do that. The colors are neat. This gray just seems to fit quite nicely with this purple that they chose to use. It's also a really nice purple. My camera isn't doing it justice. It's a very vibrant purple in person, more vibrant than what you're seeing. There is a nice proportionate amount of diecast on this guy. The thighs and the wheels specifically give it a nice heft, but the ankles on mine are a tad too loose, so he does like to topple over in some cases, but I can fix that. The feet are also strange. The backs of them are just nose cones, so the instructions don't even know where to put them. They just kind of say leave them at the back. Kind of wish they had a little bit more in the way of a transformation to make them into more proper heels, because sometimes he falls over. The gun's pretty sick, but he holds it weird. You clip it into the fingers, not into the palm, and it looks really awkward when he's holding it. I'm not a huge fan of the way he looks holding his gun, but the gun itself looks really cool. But posing him is super fun, and you can get a huge range out of all of these joints, and in any Chug group shot I make, he fits very well in there for me. I'm going to do the image montage thing where I'm going to put him in some poses so you can see for yourself, because it's pretty nice for me. The gaps in the forearms don't bother me that much, but they are there and they are large, so that's something to note. This box is also stellar, dare I say better than DX9 carries. I love the art and the colors. The image that's presented on the front of him being repaired by Shockwave is really awesome. I love the grid pattern. I really need to get Gewalt and their Megatron, because I want those boxes, and B, I want those figures. They're just so hard to find nowadays. Why don't they reissue Gewalt? They need to reissue Gewalt and their Megatron again. Please, Unique Toys, reissue that stuff. Articulation is great in general. It's super expressive for how chunky the toy is, and the way the waist is designed, it gives you a ton of range in the hips and legs, because you can shift them up and down. Plus that extra below the knee swivel really helps make the rotation of the lower legs more natural, along with the thigh swivel. The one thing I wish was done better was the shoulders. They feel a tad wibbly on my copy, but so far nothing bad's happened to them, but they are a bit weird. Converting it to train mode is just a bunch of moving chunks. Everything in the transformation is done in a specific way, but then you move that big chunk around. It's really satisfying to get everything tabbed in. The only issue I have is rotating the biceps, but it's still fun and enjoyable. There's only one issue I can see people having, and that's the parts forming panel, but in this mode it's not that big of an issue. It has a place to go. However, I will talk about it later. We'll get into the parts forming later. Train mode for me is the best mode. I love train Transformers. I have both Takara train bots on pre-order just because I prefer the individual bots over the Moon Studios ones. and I don't want a super massive combiner like the Moon Studios one. And Zeta Toys is Moon Studios, and Zeta did a mini Superion with their big one, so I'll just probably wait till they do a mini Trainbot set if they ever do, because I don't know, it's something about Legends combiners that started to appeal to me. But this train mode is really cool. There is some kibble on the back end, but overall it looks very clean. I like how it tries to use the cockpit for the shuttle as headlights on the train. It's a great use of parts. It's not 100%, but it's still really cool. Like, you look at it and, I mean, immediately you see cockpit, but then you see what they're trying to go for. So that's why it's not 100%. The wheels are die cast, and they have a very slight, like, Damascus look to them, like Damascus camo from COD. But they look great. I love the fact that the wheels are metal. It just sells it as a big beefy train a lot more. The gun can store on the side, and that's neat, but I'm not a fan of how that looks, so I just don't do that. Also, I feel like it might stretch the clip that it's tabbing into, because it's also a clip it needs for jet mode. So I don't know if I'm happy about shoving the gun in that port there. I do like how it's mostly purple. That will be important in a bit, but the color separation is pretty nice. The black helps break up that sea of purple, and the silver highlights just work very well. There's two different types of silver highlights, by the way. There's gunmetal silver and like just regular silver. So I like that little variety. And it looks pretty cool next to other Generations toys and MPs, kinda. But I still feel it fits a lot better with those Generations toys, both old and modern. It just fits. Now, the shuttle mode. Okay, so the transformation is just chunks again, and it's pretty fun, but a bit more fiddly than the train mode. The triple changers always have that one mode that gets shafted. That's just how it ends up being, and this is no exception. The cockpit parts can come unaligned a lot during transformation, but all you gotta do is take it slow a bit on that part, so it's not that bad. But those little side panels of the cockpit like to pop out when you're pushing things together, so that can be very annoying, because to put them back in, you have to undo everything on the feet to like shove them back and put them in. It's annoying. Shuttle mode is, like I said, the weakest mode here, at least on my copy. So, like, my issues are, I got some weird issues. The wings. These little fins here are both the same part. Not mirrored like they're supposed to be, like mirrored parts when you put them in the CAD file so that the tabs are in the like opposite spots. It's just the same part but flipped upside down. So one side tabs in because the tab is at the top like it's supposed to be, but the other side, because it's the same exact piece on the other side, the tab's on the bottom now, so it doesn't fit. The front here doesn't like to sit flush both on the sides and in the middle. It's just a little bit, and it bothers me. It's the train wheels and the way that the hands fold down, they collide a lot inside, and it's really annoying. And the parts forming. All right, let's talk about the parts forming. So the rifle becomes the front landing gear, which is really cool. I love that. Reminds me of Armada Jetfire's minicons becoming the front landing gear. Now, I had originally written this as this piece goes nowhere, but it doesn't. It actually goes somewhere, I found out. It's not in the instructions, I don't think, to my recollection, otherwise I would have figured it out, but it becomes a friggin' flight stand for the shuttle. That is an awesome use of parts. I love that. It reminds me of Masterpiece Shockwave's like backpack section coming off and becoming a stand for the gun. Like, if you're gonna parts form something, parts form it so that it actually elevates the toy in a certain way, and this does that both physically and like metaphorically, and I love it. I love that that actually becomes a flight stand. However small, it's still a flight stand. The shuttle mode, like I said, is the weaker of the three, but it's still not bad. I know a lot of people think the pudgy proportions are weird, but I kind of like it. It looks really neat. It's different from what we usually get from Astrotrain, which is just your standard NASA shuttle. And the toy itself is just super sick overall. I don't know if I want to display it with my third-party stuff or my CHUG stuff. Like, that's literally a debate I've had in my head, because it goes great with both. I think it fits quite well with CHUG stuff, honestly. And if you're a Generations only collector, because I know there are a lot of those out there, I would say it fits. I would say get it. I mean, if you have Siege Astrotrain, he's probably really good. I don't know. I don't have one. I plan on getting one at some point at TFCon, but I just don't have one yet. But Siege Astrotrain's probably good. But this dude, I think he just fits a lot more for me. He's big, he's beefy, he's intimidating. He's what I want Astrotrain to be. And that's awesome, and that makes me want DX9 Chigurh a lot more now, because I want that Blitzwing. He's huge too. But I will leave a link to this guy down below, but he may sell out fast, so, you know, because it's a Sir Toys link, and Sir Toys usually only gets like 1 or 2 items, sells them, waits a bit, and gets some more and sells them, so like, you know, you gotta be quick with that one. But it usually goes for about $95 to $99, so it's not that expensive either. Well, it is expensive, but it's not like really terrible third-party toy expensive, like $200 to $300. It's a really reasonable price, I think. So I definitely recommend picking one of these up. But that's been my look at DX9 Chigurh, or their Astrotrain. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.